Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, this is your first time listening to the Win with Dice podcast. Welcome. And this is a podcast where we talk about tabletop RPGs. Calvin and I like to take a casual approach to the hobby. So we like to talk about the games that we run, the games that we play in, and all the cool, wonderful GMs and players that we get to experience this hobby with. And, share our experiences, share our trials and tribulations. So, if you have never GM'd, maybe you should. And based off our conversations here, and if you've never played any sort of tabletop RPG, what are you doing? You should.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, for real.
So this week we have a Pathfinder recap that I'm very excited to get to, as well as just some quick updates from Paizocon a couple of weeks ago. Some of the Starfinder stuff that was announced there that I kept saying we would talk about. We're going to talk about it this week. But before we get into all that fun stuff, we have to get to the most important part of the show, the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week.
That's the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week, brought to you by Calvin. Calvin, tell us what you've learned.
Indeed. So something that I found useful recently is just having a handful of NPCs that have come up before in the game. They're still active and around and alive. And more importantly, they have some history with the party. So you can, just the idea of just reusing NPCs, I think is something important, because sometimes you might be in a position where you find a space where you need a certain character and you just happen to have one that already works. Or you just have a character you kind of like, but you didn't get to use as much as you wanted to, maybe. And then you find a way to bring them back. Or just someone that has a connection with the party. And you want to keep, playing off that connection and see what happens as you and your group of players sort of improvise your way through this story. I think it's a good thing, just keep a handle on who might be out there, what areas they might be in, just to sort of help you as you create the story around your players' actions.
You could really play to the strengths of the length of the campaign, right? Let's say if this happens over the course of a couple of months, maybe a couple of years in game, then maybe you could even have those NPCs kind of rise to prominence, right? Maybe they take positions of power. Maybe they remember all the good deeds or the bad deeds, I guess, what the PCs have done, and is able to exert some sort of authority to either help them or hinder them. But it's a fun way to it's always tough to kind of constantly making up NPCs. I think you can reach back into the NPCs they've already dealt with to kind of fill in the niches. And also it'd be fun too, because the players and the characters are going on their own little character arc. Maybe NPCs can go on their little character arc, right? Maybe somebody who was really grouchy before to the party has maybe warmed up to them based on their actions and what they've heard, and maybe it's a little bit nicer to them the next time they see or interact with them.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, definitely, other stuff is going to be happening off-screen, regardless of player influence in some cases. That could include these NPCs that sometimes they come to like, or dislike, but have a strong reaction to.
Exactly. And it's always fun to have a familiar face, especially in some stressful situations. And again, you could always have in your back pocket to bail the pieces out of a pretty serious jam, whether it be narratively or combat wise, if the PCs have put the time in with that NPC, right? So it won't feel such of a Deus Ex Machina if the pieces have earned it through the role play. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's more of a reward than a just GM change into the setting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. There's your tip of the week. Don't forget about your old NPCs. Make them work for you.
Indeed. All right. So starting off, I wanted to get into some of the new stuff that's coming to the Starfinder RPG that was announced at Paizocon. I'm not going to go as in depth as we did with the Pathfinder stuff, just because Starfinder isn't as big a thing on our channel. But I do like the game and the setting, so I wanted to talk about some of these things. Specifically, I wanted to talk about Starfinder Enhanced, the new book that is coming out soon, at the end of this year. Now, it's not, despite the fact that there is a Pathfinder 2 remaster going on, it's not exactly a remaster of Starfinder, this new Starfinder Enhanced book. It's more like the, one of the books that was released for Starfinder earlier was the Character Operations Manual, and that had a bunch of expansions on classes and stuff. And that's more like what this book is, where it will expand on the classes and on game rules and character options and things like that. So
I guess it's
yep.
more of like a not like a splat book, but like less of like rules updates, but more of like these are just if you've been playing for a while, here's some new options.
Yeah, pretty much. Like including optional rules as well that aren't necessarily updates, but things that the GM can use to make the game work in different ways. So one of those things is themes, and character themes are part of your character backstory when it comes to Starfinder, and they give you certain extra abilities. So some of the new ones include things like a street magician, or a vid gamer, which I'm very excited for, or a personal trainer, which I'm very curious what sort of abilities that'll have.
Personal trainer? Nice. You're just ripped more than the average person, I guess.
I would think so.
I would love it if it's like, you could get other players to be ripped too. Like you could just you being in the party makes them better, and like make them look slightly faster. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a downtime ability where you can like train the rest of the party and make them stronger.
Yeah, everyone's doing jumping jacks or something. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bunch of new themes. There's some new species that you can play as. A few of them are from like previously published adventures and other products and stuff, like the Kitsune that they had in like the species deck. You have like cards for like random characters and stuff. And there is some new stuff that I was pretty interested in, including the excessively cute-looking Skirridae, which I'll put a picture up of. There's like these little fuzzy guys, and they can carry stuff with like, I think they mentioned some sort of like telekinetic power they used to carry stuff with. They're just like a lot of things in Starfinder. They are excessively cute.
Are these the same like the mascot characters for Starfinder? I don't remember what they were called.
No, those are the Skittermanders.
Oh, sorry.
No, there's a lot of like small furry cute things in Starfinder. There's like a little fox thing that you can get. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Right. Yeah, these guys are like small little, I don't even know how to describe them, like hamsters maybe.
Oh, okay, cool. They're just little hamsters in space. All right, rocking it.
And there's also one that I definitely want to use is that you can play as like a living hologram that has like an AI core and a hard light body that has come to life, and I'm really excited to get like a chance at using that.
Wait, what? What does that even mean? So man, you could play as all sorts of robots in this game. I love it.
Yeah, because you have androids, and then you have like just straight up robots, and you have living holograms.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So like, I guess, can you just like phase through stuff or small spaces because you're not real?
I think they mentioned like shape-shifting abilities, like appearance changing, but there might be some other stuff that you're able to use. There's probably some like feats that you gain access to, because I don't think they'll have like phasing as like a level 1 thing, but I'm sure there's a feat for it that just having the species is a prerequisite.
Yeah, because you're not even real.
Yeah,
physically there, right? So that's pretty neat. It's pretty neato.
Yeah, that would be really fun. There's new archetypes as well, and those are just things that you can put on top of your class, and they give you different abilities at certain levels. Some of the ones that stood out to me were the auto sight, which I don't know exactly what it does, but I know that it has an ability that is essentially its own personal soundtrack. There's the Major League Coach, where you get abilities called Huddle and Trick Play and Playbook, which I don't know what they do, but I assume they help coordinate the team. You can mix that with your personal trainer abilities. And also, one that I thought was really interesting was the Counselor, where you can support the other members of your party by helping them like work through their stress. And there's like mechanical benefits to it.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I kind of dig all these kind of offbeat like archetypes, because it feels like it's more gearing towards like less of combat, but like less because Starfinder, it's a I think a pretty good 50-50 split of combat to role playing, but these all sound hilariously like really role play, and like you normally never get stuff like the Counselor in like the fights man games, right?
Right.
So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that it has something that like encourages that role play between players, as well as gives like a benefit to doing so.
Yeah.
There's a ton of new feats. There's 90 new feats. I just put down a couple of them. There's some basic ones like Avenger, where if an ally is brought to 0 HP, you can attack the creature that downed them as a reaction, I believe. And something like Project Manager, where you can have like a bonus to assisted checks. And then there's some more out there ones like Comedic Timing, where you can make a roll to help an ally re-roll any failed charisma checks, or the Gag Gift, which is you can basically sneak a grenade onto someone's body and then it explodes.
Nice. I like that all of these are just like some of these are just like, this is just like a real person's job, but here you go. Here's some mechanical benefits.
Yeah.
They just like they just went on like a they went on a job board and there was like, and they're like, I think I could gamify these.
That's one of the things I like about Starfinder. Just being able to bring in like those sci-fi and modern elements, as well as having the fantasy elements of magic and stuff still. You get to do like so much in that sandbox.
Yeah, because like, I don't know. I mean, in the far future, there's still going to be a need for project managers and coaches.
Exactly.
And I guess like even with the archetypes, or sorry, not the archetypes, the backgrounds, to be personal trainers and stuff like that. These are just real jobs that still probably would exist.
Yeah, you're just also a space adventurer. It's very cool.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, so there are updates to the classes as well. It's not like full remakes. It's not like the remaster of Pathfinder. But they do have some like new added abilities and flavor where that was needed, making sure certain classes aren't like pigeonholed into only doing specific things. Like they specifically mentioned like the Envoy, which has an ability to give people bonuses to attack rolls, and then for some players it feels like, well, there's no point in me doing anything else other than that. And some stuff is like making low level play more interesting as well. There was, I'm not going to go into full details, but there was one thing that stood out to me. There's a class called the Mystic, and it's like the mainly magic class. And one kind of mystic you can be is a shifter. That's a new thing, and you can like change parts of your body into like weapons and stuff. But it also has, or it will have, a 19th level ability where you can shapeshift into a colossal creature or into a living starship. Which
that is funny. you just become an X-wing.
Yeah, man.
This is my final form.
A spaceship.
That's hilarious. That's kind of like, I mean, that's pretty vibing, right? Like I just imagine it being like Ultraman, like he just like grows to fight the kaiju. he just transforms into a ship, and he was like, "All right, guys, everybody get inside me." He just like pew pew choo pew, and just makes all the noises, but he's actually shooting lasers. Like,
oh man, I really want to do that. Yeah, what?
I have a lot of questions, man. Like, I have a lot of questions. Like, so we're like, are you still organic, or are you just a ship? Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, are you still like a valid target for like if you were a person, and if you get shot, like, do you take hull point damage or like HP damage? And then
I have no idea. There is living starship rules, but that's just for like, you know, like NPC enemies and stuff like that. I don't know if it's gonna be different for a player, or how it might work in combat, or if other characters can use your turrets or whatever.
All I know is that there's a 19th level campaign out there that Calvin needs to run, so one of us could be
Yeah.
be the mothership. Like, oh my god, that's so crazy. All right, cool.
And then there's new spells, obviously, including one that I forget the name of, but it's specifically like a magical girl transformation spell. You get like some dazzling light abilities. And also there's some rules for designing spells, which I'm pretty curious about, and yeah, I'll probably check those out when the book comes out.
Oh, cool. So like you can like mix in, you can like the GM can like make their own kind of unique thing. That's
Yeah.
quite nice. I like those tools.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it'll work, but Starfinder has like a lot of great tools for GMs. There's new
Nice.
gear, of course, with new equipment, new rules for pricing equipment, and something I think is very cool, which is rules for scaling your equipment. So if you're a player who has like a signature weapon or piece of armor that they really like, you can have it scale with you instead of having to like trade it off for something better once you get to higher levels, and then it's just like outclassed. Like you can just keep using it.
Oh yeah, that's really nice. I think it's just like a ease of play too kind of deal, right? Like if you don't want to, if you're playing a campaign, you don't really want to like have to keep updating the gear for all the players all the time. It might just be nice to just have those rules.
Exactly. Yeah, it's easier, and I think people who have like certain things that just really fit their character are gonna like them. There are starship rules, of course, to make starship stuff less like skill driven, more abstract, make it a bit lighter as far as rules go, and in some ways making it easier to run like multi-ship battles, which I think might be very useful for doing like starship squad combat.
Yeah, because my limited experience with Starfinder ship combat was that like it really feels like a 1v1 dogfight kind of situation most of the time. It's usually just like I couldn't imagine like the players having multiple ships almost. And like I couldn't imagine the GM piloting more than like a few ships at a time, right?
Oh yeah, no, that's why I never did.
Yeah.
But that is something I did want to try out because oh gosh, I'm forgetting which book it was. I'll put the text on screen if I remember. But there was a book that had like Starfinder like squad ship rules where you have like lower level ships but they're individual ones. And I feel like these new rules would help make it easier for players because that's something I wanted to do, but then it's like everyone has to master their own starship and know all the starship stuff instead of just knowing their own specific role. Yeah, I think I would definitely want to try these lighter rules. And then as far as the book goes, there's just other like GM tools and stuff, like new DCs and suggestions on how to do like milestone leveling.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of really cool flavory setting stuff in there, and there's a lot of like updates to rules and stuff. I kind of wish they did call it like Character Operations 2 or something like that, because I feel like the title Starfinder Enhanced really has certain implications when a Pathfinder remaster is happening.
Yeah, I feel like I think they just probably printed all the books like before, right? Like this isn't recent. Like they probably finalized a bunch of stuff like beforehand, and then now they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the book sounds cool. It's just that like if you say you're doing Starfinder Enhanced when there's a remaster happening, then my first thought is, oh cool, 3 actions in Starfinder.
Yeah, exactly, right? People start thinking like, wait a minute, is this just Pathfinder in space? Because that would be sick.
Yeah.
Or Pathfinder 2 in space, that would be sick. But I feel like they're still trying to keep those two things separate for now.
Yeah, I would assume they're updating Starfinder for the new Orc license at some point, but they're probably just doing Pathfinder first.
Yeah, and then once that's done, maybe seeing a new Starfinder come through, or at least like, because like it would be kind of tough to get rid of all of those cool books that they've done, right? Like I think Starfinder they've produced a lot of GM resources, like really good quality GM resources that a lot of time and effort went into. So it's not like an easy switch to be like, all right, new edition, everything is. Because like it feels like the way that they're moving with Pathfinder is like kind of, not like a hard reset, but just like reorganizing, and it's like it would be tough to change all that so suddenly while working on Pathfinder 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Again. E again.
Yeah, I think I said before, but if there's a Starfinder 2 in the works, we're not going to get a whiff of it until like 2025.
Yeah. Wait, is it like, I would call it like Pathfinder 2.5? Is that what we're calling it? That sounds pretty nice.
That's what it would be.
I kind of like, I'm gonna remember it that way now. That seems to be the official stance in my brain. That's how I'm gonna remember this.
So yeah, there was a bunch of other stuff at Paizocon, but the one other thing I wanted to talk about was the new Starfinder path called Mechageddon, which I largely wanted to talk about because of the title.
Who's naming these things? Give that guy a raise.
So it is set on the planet of Dimolko, which kind of got like a paragraph mention in like the first Starfinder core rulebook. But it's essentially where the residents mostly live underground or in ruins because the surface of the planet is ruled by giant kaiju monsters. And the party in this adventure path can create and pilot mechs that level up with them as they try to defend like their home cities against these colossal creatures as members of the new Valor Defense Force. So it's basically Pacific Rim. Well, also Evangelion and other stuff, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess also Power Rangers too, technically, because you have that big robot that can be piloted by multiple people. So
also that.
I mean,
it's a lot of things.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you can have your fun Sentai adventure, and instead of being all Evangelion.
Yeah, they did actually hint at mechs becoming starships, and they can probably use some of the other rule set stuff to like combine together. So yeah, it's like a three-part. Yep.
Stop. You can combine with the starship. Now you can really have your Super Sentai adventure.
Yeah, because they already have like rules. The squadron rules already have something for like combining your starships into one ship. So if you have mechs that turn into starships, then by the transitive property,
it is time. Sick. All right, cool.
So yeah, it's
keep this in the back pocket.
Yeah,
for the future. That sounds.
I kind of want to run this.
That sounds super cool. Yeah.
So yeah, 3-part adventure that actually uses milestone leveling, interestingly, to go from 3rd to 18th level. And also they hinted at including a Demon Lord character from Pathfinder lore, but they did not drop a name, so I assume that's going to be a thing you have to find out.
Ooh, I wonder who it's gonna be. I'm not too familiar with the Demon Lord characters from Pathfinder. I only know of I forgot the one. The giant the pterodactyl one that's living in the that's like from like the evil forest. I think he's a demon. It's a known thing. But yeah, I don't recall, but cool. I'm interesting. I'm interested in this Lord Z character. I just can't get it out of my head now. Like I want everyone to be Super Sentai warriors and then like combine mechs and have fun like that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to make it work. There's probably a mech combination rule that exists or will exist in this book.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If it's good, maybe I can do that. I wish Lancer had that. Like I'm sure a lovely third-party creator has already homebrewed up rules for mechs to combine because that just sounds sick. So I probably should just go look it up and see if it's there.
Yeah, I'm sure someone we've talked to has done that. But yeah, that is some of the new stuff coming to Starfinder. That I'm very much looking forward to. I do also wish they would put out an Aslanti Star Empire like setting book because part of me has been wanting to do like a whole Star Wars Empire adventure there, but it doesn't exist yet. It's kind of all like setting is kind of all over multiple different books.
Yeah, but it would be nice to have like a good like an adventure path that's just like this is you beating the Empire or something. This is just Star Wars, but it's Starfinder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, I can use it to set up my Mandalorian adventure.
It's all just prequel stuff for the real thing you want. Cub and Wolf in space.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Cub and Wolf, it might be a good segue into my Pathfinder recap.
That's true. You've also done Cub and Wolf in the past, I guess in Fantasyland.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch on the Starfinder stuff, or should we get to this recap?
No, let's get the recap. I'm excited. I want to hear what the gang has gotten up to.
All right, so getting into the recap of this Pathfinder 2 campaign, Quest of the Fate Seer, where the party has been tasked with guiding this young gnome girl from one part of the map to the other, while being beset by many challenges and plots and schemes. So the adventurers are Delorfek the fighter dwarf, and Solo, the human bard. And they are currently guiding Rima, this gnomish cleric. And you had also come in as a couple of different characters who, came and went from the campaign, as we described in previous episodes. So go check out all of those. But for now, the players were just a couple stops away from the end of their journey. So they had been given a letter, or given instruction rather, way at the beginning of the game, from this priest by the name of Harkham, to take this girl and bring her to a paladin by the name of Fandrovo Jane, bringing her to the massive city, or not necessarily massive city, but the very important city of Silver Hill. And this last session, we started off arriving at the city of Valorest, which is just like a day or so journey away from Silver Hill. So we're pretty close to what is the end of this stretch of the campaign. And we're dealing some repercussions from things that happened previously. Specifically, Solo had been sort of possessed by this succubus demon and had been hiding it for like a couple of weeks. But last session we were able to, or the party rather, was able to free Solo from this connection. So they're still recovering from that because they were also ambushed by a worm demon at the time. So they're still recovering from all of that. Solo's feeling a bit guilty for hiding that he had this connection to a succubus and what he put the teeth through and everything just being on him. And Delorphic was kind of giving Solo crap for all the mistakes he had made. But Brima, who I'm very glad that every time Brima comes up, I'm just really glad that the party likes Brima, because I think I like her too. She's very cute. She was sticking close to Solo in like a protective way, but Solo kind of misinterpreted that as her being angry. So there was some awkwardness as they arrived in this city. But one of the first things they noticed, so Brima, even though this hasn't come up for a while, one of the things with Brima is there's a certain strangeness to her magical abilities. In addition to that, she has the ability to like touch someone and see the moment of their death, which has come up a little less often recently, but came up a bit more towards the beginning of the campaign, where like she touched one of the members of the party and then saw them drowning, and then we were going on a boat trip like right after, and then there was the water trap sometime after that. So she can like see the thing happening, but it's not guaranteed that it will happen in that way, at least as far as the party's experience has been. So one thing they saw was a couple of like trainee paladins who they had met on the journey, on a previous point in the journey. And as they were like waving to them and greeting them, Brima had she brought up that she had previously seen one of them basically being stabbed by a sword, and that was their death. And as the party was sort of greeting these guys, one of them had like paused in the middle of doing something to turn and like wave back. And at that moment, like this sword display that he was standing near, like a part of it fell loose and like a sword kind of like whipped down and hit the ground, like just barely missing where his head would have been if he hadn't turned around.
Oh, wow. Oh my god. Final Destination shit. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's basically what she is. So yeah, they might have saved that guy for now, but that was also partially just a way for me to help bring that thing back, because I also just haven't been using it as much, but it is like a very important thing for Brima. And then after that, they were in a new city, so they did a bit of shopping. So Delorphic got a new hammer, Solo got some daggers of specially made materials, and he gave Brima a silver dagger, which is pretty cool. And they got a whole bunch of just fun stuff. They got some fun stuff, like a wand where Brima could put her pet in this comfortable enclosed space, and seeking bracelets, which are it's a pair of bracelets where if you break a gem on one, the person who's wearing the other will feel it and notice it, as long as you're on the same plane. And that might come back later.
Oh, okay.
It might be very important later. So yeah, after all that fun stuff, they went to this tavern where they're just going to set up to rest before heading out the next day. They met Osiro, who is another person that they saw on their journey, like this traveling bard. And they saw him playing. Well, they didn't see him playing, actually, I should say. They did see someone else performing. Another bard by the name of Alina Coincatcher, who, this is the third time they've met. The first time they met Alina, she had ambushed them with a group of bandits in the middle of the forest.
I was gonna say, I was like, I remember this one.
Yep. Yeah, because you were there. And then the second time, it was when y'all were tasked with recovering a sword from a vault, and Alina was there, robbing the same vault.
Yeah.
So, third time's the charm. But yeah, they arrived in this tavern, they saw Alina playing, and Delorfek was able to notice that, like, while people were paying attention to Alina's performance, he could see a couple of pickpockets moving through the crowd and just, like, definitely borrowing some gold from people who were too distracted by the performance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So when Alina and her two pals went to sit down, Delorfek was just, like, staring at them from across the room. Just, like, waiting for that awkward eye contact, which did eventually happen. So she went over to join him, while her other guys just went upstairs to their own private rooms. And during that time, like, right. Alina and Delorfek had a conversation where, like, Alina was trying to be polite. Because, like, she realized she can't really fight these guys. She just wants to make sure that she doesn't have to, and that she can continue doing what she's doing without, like, an interruption. And she also brought up that she might want the party's help for stuff later, because it's very clear that they're very capable people, as they were able to, like, successfully pull off that heist earlier. Heist dungeon sort of thing earlier. Basically just trying to stay on their good side. And Delorfek was just, like, just trying to make sure that Alina wasn't going to try to kill them. He,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Just, like, didn't want a new enemy, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I feel like they've been through a lot. They just kind of want to like stay out of each other's lanes. Just be like, all right, you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you, kind of situation.
Pretty much. Yeah, Brima did try to get some insight on Alina, but she kind of rolled low. So Brima was like, yeah, I can trust her. At that point, Alina tied like a little ribbon into Brima's hair, just being all friendly like. But because she did come in contact with Brima, Brima did have a vision, which might come up later. And
wow, okay.
So while that all was happening, Solo and Asuro the Bard were playing a song. And I just had them both roll performance checks, you know, generic Bard stuff. But Asuro got a 1, so his lute broke as he was playing it. Fortunately, though, Solo was able to, like, recover the show. And then Asuro was able to give, like, a sort of a bass accompaniment to Solo as he was, like, saving the performance, and then put on a couple more songs, just really getting everyone into it. So, yeah, at that point, Solo and Asuro joined Delorfek, Brima, and Alina at the table, just getting caught up in everything that was going on. Alina offered to buy drinks, and Delorfek got some wine for Brima. Because she's... I mean, it's a fantasy world. I don't know what the drinking age is.
Like, oh, she can't handle the hard stuff. Here, drink this wine.
Yeah, exactly. I think she has tried ale before, but she didn't really like it. So, yeah, I think the wine is better for her. But yeah, they had their conversations together before eventually, like, returning to bed. And then the next day they traveled off, and I wrote some stuff on my travel table. You know how it goes. Today was just more of a mundane event instead of a fight, where they just saw, like, there was a cart being pulled particularly slow because it was very heavy and, like, weighed down with valuable items. Then Solo just did some inspire courage on the horse, which was all right, sure. The horse is gonna pull that cart with all his might now.
That's nice. It's like, oh, good, keep going, little buddy. You'll make it.
Pretty much that. But yeah, At this point, this is where we get into the major stuff, because they finally arrived in the city of Silver Hill. On their way in, Brima did reveal the vision she had with Alina, of Alina's death, where there was like a sudden flash, and then Alina was like falling backwards towards stairs or stone or something like that. She wasn't very sure because it happened so fast.
Right.
But the party has decided at that time not to say anything to Alina about it. But then they started having a conversation about this Vandrovo Jane, this person who the entire campaign has been about, but they haven't even met yet, because this is the person they have to bring Brima to. And Brima mentioned that she's met Vandrovo a couple of times, or a few times, but always got the feeling that she didn't like her very much, so she wasn't sure what to expect. Mm-hmm. So I guess at this point I should describe Vandrovo's whole deal, because they were sort of coming into a very important ceremony happening in the city. So Vandrovo is basically selected by like visions and prophecies to be the next herald of Sarenrae. And there's like Pathfinder specific stuff for what heralds are supposed to mean, but I was just kind of treating it as like if the Pope had a sword. Essentially like someone who has like a... I'm glad you like that, because that was the description I used.
Nice.
There's like a very direct connection to a specific deity to sort of like put out their will onto the material plane. And Vandrovo is meant to be selected to be the next herald for this specific deity of like light and flame and justice and all that fun stuff. And she also, of course, has a history with Harkham, who was this priest of Pharasma that was taking care of Brima previously, but was killed in like the first session by an ambush of some undead nature. So they arrive in time for this ceremony. It's taking place in like this big mega cathedral. People are filing in, and there's this whole big event for Vandrovo being led by this High Priest of Sarenrae, High Priest Thorpe, who went through like this long speech and then introduced her. And then Vandrovo comes on, and they see this figure, this tall, muscular figure, with like they can see like the elven ears, the dark skin, her eyes being a different color from each other. And it was clear in her speech that Vandrovo isn't really good at like public speaking, but they could tell from the way that she carried herself that she is like a fighter born. Like she is always ready for combat, always has those muscles tensed and prepared.
Right.
So basically they waited for the ceremony to be over. It took like many hours. And then afterwards they were trying to get through this crowd to find her. Solo put Brima up on his shoulders, and I was like, I guess I should have Brima roll this perception check then. But they were able to find like Vandrovo's carriage. And from that point, Delorfek used his strength to like push away through the crowd, clearing a path for Solo and Brima behind him. And they were able to make their way towards Vandrovo's carriage, which did involve like just pushing through this crowd. So while Solo was distracted by like having to apologize for all of that, Delorfek held Brima out, just like holding her up under the arms, just like putting her forward towards the carriage as Vandrovo opened it.
Like she's a baby.
Exactly. So he's holding her up, and Delorfek was kind of the only one to see like the range of emotions that Vandrovo went through upon seeing Brima. In particular, like they could see up close now, one of her eyes was scarred, and that particular eye just sort of like winced a bit as she saw Brima. And then they were brought into the carriage for a ride. And the carriage itself, it was just like a 4-seater one with the 2 sets of seats facing each other. So Delorfek sat next to Vandrovo, and then Solo and Brima were sitting on the other side. And then Brima gave Vandrovo a letter that she's been carrying from the beginning of the campaign. And this is that one letter that I talked about who knows how long ago, where I probably wrote too much. And it's just been sitting in the notes thing for forever. Even like back when I was running this on Roll20. There is a possibility that the party might not actually see what's in this letter. I'm prepared.
That would be kind of tragic, but yeah. But I mean, you could always slip it in somewhere. Maybe somebody forgot it, or who knows how this is actually going to shake out. So maybe it'll just be lying on a desk, and the party gets to be like, "Oh, this is the letter."
True. So yeah, they Fandrovo takes some time to read through it, and then she asks about like what happened to Harkham, getting an update on that, and then she asks like what happened on their journey over here. She got like a brief overview of it, including mention of Brima's abilities, which it was clear that she already knew about, and was curious on like how they expanded and things like that. She said that the party would be paid the amount that Harkham promised in his note, which was like 1,500 gold each, because like Harkham likes to spend Fandrovo's money.
That's a lot of gold. Damn, man. They're rich now.
Yeah, like I definitely want to make it clear that Fandrovo is pretty wealthy and also very good friends with Harkham, because that is a bold thing for Harkham to do.
Just to be like, by the way, you need to pay these two jabronis like $500,000. Like...
Exactly. But she did promise that Brima would be taken care of, which for some reason the players thought was suspicious. I don't know why.
Maybe you were like, taken care of. You're like, oh, wait a minute. That's not a nice thing somebody would say.
No, she'll be taken care of. I don't know. What else could that possibly mean? One thing I forgot to mention is that in the course of this journey, they also found out that Fandrovo was allergic to Brima's pet ferret, which was kind of a last-second thing, but also I feel like could be very interesting in the future. I just like the idea of like this very like strong and important and like this decked out fighter champion, and like their weakness is an allergy to the small furry creature.
Makes sense. Pretty funny.
But yeah, after that they were dropped off at the Cinder Inn. They were told that if they dropped Fandrovo's name, they could just stay the night for free. Because again, Fandrovo's pretty wealthy. And while there, they overheard some gossip about Fandrovo, and some of it was just repeating stuff that was mentioned at the ceremony. Just things like, her family history and stuff. How they were tied to that evil lich guy that used to... Oh God, I have to explain like my setting history again. But there was a point in my setting's history where the entire continent was ruled over by this evil lich wizard. This evil undead wizard. And one of the things he had done was like suppress worship of certain deities. And Fandrovo's family, the Jane family, is one of the groups of people that sort of like kept the spirit of those deities alive and kept like their worship of like Saren Ray and other deities present in the area, and we're sort of part of bringing him down in that way. So they heard some gossip about stuff like that. One of the things that High Priest Thorpe had mentioned is how Fandrovo is meant to have like the power of the realm on her side, and like people were wondering like, is that like a literal thing, or is that just a thing he's saying? And all sorts of like, oh, she's chosen by prophecy and stuff like that. Like, she must be really cool.
Right. Okay. So is the campaign over then? Like, did they do it? Like, is this it?
Well, in the last few minutes of the session, so like night falls, the party opts to take watch in their inn room. And it's a pretty opulent one. They've been in some pretty decent places so far. But this particular inn, the Cinder Inn, it's had like some of the best food they've ever had. The room is very large compared to other ones they've had to stay in. And it has like this magic waterfall fountain like inside the room that sort of creates like this calming water flow sound at night. So,
okay.
night falls, and they're opting, like, again, to take watch. So Dolorfek is on first watch, and he's sitting on the bed that he has, and everybody's able to have their own bed, unlike when they sometimes have to share. So he's sitting on the edge of his bed. He has his warhammer out. He has his armor on because he's on watch, and he's just, like, watching the room and inspecting his hammer and stuff like that. So he's there for some time, and then he notices a couple of things happen. They seem to happen all at once. The door suddenly opens, and as it opens, because he got a pretty good perception check, he was able to see, like, there was some singe marks on the door as it just suddenly opened. And in that same instant, Brima disappeared, and only the ferret was left behind. So, yeah.
What?
Who knows? I mean, I knows, but who knows?
What are you? What? Brima was just kidnapped
She was...
by a weird ghost?
Maybe? Well, what happened is, so he woke up solo, of course, and then they were able to hear, like, footsteps of someone, like, in heavy armor running away, so they gave chase. They did a really cool combo move where Solo, like, did a spell to increase Dolorfik's speed by 10, and then Dolorfik did sudden charge, so he could do 2 moves and an attack. So, like, we weren't, like, technically in combat, but I thought it was a really cool combo, so I was like, yeah, no, you for sure catch up to this person. So they were able to see, like, this large shadowy figure carrying Brima under their arms, and with this speed boost combo, Dolorfik was able to catch up and strike, and the figure spun around, and they could see in the moonlight the face of Fandrovo Jane.
What? But why is she stealing her in the night? Isn't she, like, gonna take care of her?
On some level... Okay, hang on. Let me finish this and I'll circle back to that. So yeah, there was, like, a brief moment of combat. Solo tried to ask, like, why Fandrova was doing this, both looking for answers and acting as a distraction. And Fandrova was just saying that Brima was too dangerous. She couldn't be left with these two. Like, it was just, for whatever reason, Brima was just, like, a danger to them. And Fandrova was able to, like, dodge Dolorfek's next attack despite the distraction. And then, like, Fandrova had been looking at them with, at first it was with anger, and then it just kind of shifted to pity. Because she was looking at them and just saying, like, you know, whatever enchantment or charm this girl has put you under, I'm sure it will end when she's been separated from you. And as she had said this, again, like, in the blink of an eye, she was able to disappear, just leaving Dolorfik and Solo alone on that street. And that is where the session ended.
Oh, damn. All right. That's crazy.
And yeah, on some level, I guess she could have just waited, but on the other hand, villains are known to be dumb and impatient sometimes. And this is much more interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Sick.
I mean, to be fair, she made it clear that there was an immediate danger with Brima, but it hasn't been made clear what that is.
It's so weird because, like, they've been traveling with Brima for such a long time. That's a little concerning.
Yeah,
Brima's just radioactive, man. You don't know.
Yeah, they really did not get us. They didn't really get, like, much of a straight explanation from Fandrova over what the danger was, and Fandrova was just like, "No, you guys have been charmed by evil. Don't worry, I will help you by kidnapping this girl."
by stopping the small child.
But they don't know the specifics of it, and I'm very excited to get into. Oh man, Fandrovo is a lot of things. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into Fandrovo because I don't know if I've talked about it before, but I've had this character in mind for a while. It just kind of started with, like, what if I had a villain that was lawful good, or at least believed they were, and was, like, chosen by a deity as, like, the goodest person ever. what would it mean if they had to come into conflict with the party or do something that I don't want to. I don't know. I'm trying to balance, like, because I really want to talk about this character, but I don't want to say too much.
Well,
but at the same
it looks
time,
like you gotta run more sessions. Yeah, it looks like you gotta run more sessions, dog, and get this campaign over with, so we could talk about it. Because I'm super interested. Yeah. Holy.
It's gonna play on like a lot of stuff that I find interesting about like fantasy settings. Like, one of the things that I always want to go into more is like the fact that like deities are like for certain real in these settings. There are like extra dimensional figures out there that have command and control over like entire concepts, and if you're nice enough to them, they make you better at healing people. Like, they just give you magic powers, and it's like, what does that mean that there is a figure out there that you can call up if your brain is loyal enough, and you could just ask them for power as long as you follow these certain rules and do these certain things? Like, what does that mean for a person? What would a person have to do to have that connection and that power? And it's just a thing that gets like glossed over, like for mechanics and stuff. Like, oh, I just heal people, but like, what does that mean? There's a thing out there, and you just pray to it, and it let you like sew up a wound. What does that mean?
Yeah, dude. Like, and like, what does that mean personally? Like, it's like you literally talk to like God, right? You're like, all right, this is like capital G stuff happening. Like, am I cool now? Like, am I like, cooler than everybody else?
Exactly. There's a thing out there that for them, like, a million years is a split second. And they're stopping to help you, I don't know, cast a light spell.
Yeah, and they're like, oh yeah, don't worry, spam, here you go. It's the light. All right, sick. Well, I'm excited for all of the oh man, I don't even know. I'm excited for the rest of the campaign. I guess the arc. I don't know if you're gonna finish it. It sounds like they have to go beat up the Pope. Good luck with that. Sounds super extra hard.
Yep. They did they are like planning on what to do next. They did mention they want to go find Alina and get Alina's help to like steal the letter so they know they get more information, which I think is a pretty good idea. I'm glad I brought like a bunch of those guys back. You get to go read them the note. Yes.
Yeah, and now you get to go read the note.
Oh man, I'm very excited. There's so much stuff with Fandrovo that's just been like bubbling because I haven't been able to do anything with it. So nice. Yeah, hopefully next session. I think either the next session or it'll be a couple of sessions. It'll be end of this arc of the story, and then we'll see what happens from there. Because I'm not really. I have the broad strokes of what happens after, but that's gonna require like everyone being alive, and I can't guarantee that.
Interesting. I wonder if your other campaign is this happening all in the same, I guess, like dimension or timeline.
It's in this. Yeah, it's in the same. So far, it's in the same, like, timeline, but only because nothing has happened between the two where I would have to split them up. And it's helped that they're, like, in different places on the map.
I would say there's a good opportunity to, this shit's gonna explode, so whenever this stuff, because I think the actual timeline of Quest of the Fates here is a little bit shorter, like much shorter than your other campaign, right?
Yeah, I actually just did the timeline yesterday. Quest of the Fates campaign has been like 3 weeks total, and the other one's been maybe 3 months. I'd have to check the calendar again, but it's been multiple months.
Interesting. Well, I mean, like, if I think the party somehow defeats, the evil Pope, maybe that'd be a good chance for you to tell that information to the other party or the other game. Just be like, oh yeah, by the way, it really, like in like the Mass Effect way where like something big happens, but it's just like passing by, or like a newsreel where it's like this nonsense happened like halfway around the galaxy, and then you get to hear about it through like the news update. It'd be like something like that. I think it'd be pretty cool. Yeah, but it's like months ago because information travels slower, right?
Maybe. I think that's gonna depend on how things go, because I mean, at least so far things have been pretty contained. Because again, like this has been like a pretty low stakes adventure. Well, relatively low stakes adventure so far, because it was just like a road trip, but now things
Yeah.
are kicking up. So
Yeah, it's like
we'll
a
see
low
how that
scope.
goes.
Like the scope is pretty small. Like get
Yeah.
the girl to the place, and then it happened, and then all of a sudden now things are a little complicated.
Yeah, extremely complicated. Yeah, like again, I'm really excited for this. I hope Fandrovo turns out as well as she feels in my head. But so far, I mean, they've got pretty good motivation to go fight her. I think I would say.
Well, yeah, that's I would agree too. I want to see the misguided fire pope lady be showed you shouldn't just kidnap random girls. That's not cool, man.
But what if there's a reason?
Well, it's fine.
Yeah, so if you guys want to see that, definitely subscribe to the channel and stick around, because I'm sure we will talk about it here. Ramon, is there anything else you want to ask about the game, or should we roll into the outro of the show?
Nah, outro's good.
All right. Oh, but FYI, your character Baruth, he did sort of head off like last session, so he's off in like a fighting tournament right now.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see if Ruth shows back up. I think. Let's see. Maybe we can roleplay, like do a couple rolls, be like, did he win the fighting tournament or not? I think that would be fun news. But this feels like way more important. I'm actually kind of glad that Bruce wasn't there, because he wasn't like. I feel like he's just like an add-on character. I'm like almost like a DMPC for a little bit, whereas like I was just kind of added in the story for a while, and then like I left, so I don't really have like that direct connection with Bruma and the gang. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Maybe I'll if this thing continues, maybe I'll jump back in with another character. Yeah, I like the little cameos of Rahman in the campaign. It's pretty nice.
That would be really fun, actually. It's like, I don't know if you've seen the Critical Role, like the Legend of Vox Machina animated show, but every now and then there's a background character that just for some reason looks exactly like Matt Mercer. So
they just put him in there. Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
And it's like different people too, so.
But they
Yeah,
just keep drawing him as Matt because technically they're all Matt Mercer. I think that's pretty
exactly.
funny.
Yeah, we'll just do that. All right. Well, thanks a ton for listening to this episode. If you liked any of this stuff, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and the bell icons to get notified whenever a new podcast episode goes up or when the channel goes live with gaming streams. Currently going through some Sims and Divinity Original Sin and some Mass Effect. Pretty close to the end of Mass Effect. I took a break, so it's going to be a bit, but yeah, I think Mass Effect is finishing soon, and then we'll start on some Dead Space. Additionally, linked below are all sorts of awesome, cool people who have made stuff for the Lancer RPG, so go check out their stuff, including the Infocane updates. That is super fun. Also, I'm going to give a shout out to the Untold Stories Project channel, where I'm at a few times a week, playing in their various streams and on their podcast. They are taking a break this week because of the upcoming events, Origins convention. They're doing a whole lot of prep for that, so definitely if you see them out there, everybody's very stressed and they're running a very big crossover game for like 25 players, so give them some love, museum.
Oh my god, what champions, man.
I respect it so much. I wouldn't do it, but I respect it.
Yeah, same.
And that's about it. Ramon, anything else to say before we head off?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Well, for all of our GMs and players out there who have been blessed by the Everlight, just remember to keep on winning with dice, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.